The moment my best friend leaned close beside the sunlit living room window and whispered, "Win the bet, and he'll do anything you want," I should have laughed. Instead, my chest tightened, because beneath her playful smile I saw something I had never noticed before: fear. Not ordinary nervousness, but the quiet terror of someone who had already decided she was going to leave and was trying to make one final memory before disappearing. Before I tell you how one harmless bet uncovered a secret that nearly destroyed 20 years of friendship, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel if you believe in kindness, forgiveness, hope, and second chances. Sometimes the person smiling beside you is carrying a goodbye they are too afraid to say aloud. My name is Callum Mercer, and Brynn Holloway had been my best friend since we were 8 years old, when she marched across the elementary school playground, handed me half of her peanut butter sandwich, and announced that I looked too lonely to be trusted by myself. From that day forward, she became the loud, fearless half of our friendship, while I became the cautious one who kept spare batteries, checked weather forecasts, and worried about everything before it happened. We grew up 3 houses apart in a small Connecticut town where people remembered scraped knees, graduation speeches, and every embarrassing haircut. Brynn knew that my father had left when I was 12 and that I still carried the belief that everyone eventually walked away. I knew she had lost her mother to illness during our first year of college and had spent the years afterward pretending grief could be defeated through busyness. She became a physical therapist, filling her days with injured people who needed encouragement. I restored old furniture in the workshop behind my house, bringing cracked tables and broken chairs back to life because repairing wood was easier than repairing people. Our friendship survived college, failed relationships, career changes, funerals, and long stretches when life made conversation difficult. Yet we had always returned to each other without explanation, as naturally as breathing. Brynn arrived at my house early on a bright Saturday morning carrying an overnight bag, even though she knew she would not actually be staying through the night. She said the plumbing in her apartment building had failed and repairs might take the entire weekend, but something about the excuse felt rehearsed. Since we had agreed that the whole story would unfold during the day, she joked that she would probably leave before sunset anyway because she hated my guest room mattress. She wore faded jeans, white sneakers, and the old green sweater she had borrowed from me years earlier and somehow never returned. Sunlight followed her through the doorway, catching the dust in the air, but her face looked unusually pale. She kept checking her phone and turning it face down whenever I approached. When I asked whether everything was all right, she smiled too quickly and challenged me to a series of competitions like we used to have as teenagers: pancakes, darts, a jigsaw puzzle, and finally basketball in the driveway. The first person to win 3 events could ask anything of the loser. I agreed because I thought she needed a distraction. Then she leaned close and made that promise about doing anything I wanted, but her voice trembled at the final word. The first event was breakfast. Brynn claimed she could make better pancakes than I could, despite once setting off a smoke detector while boiling water. We worked side by side in my kitchen as late morning sunshine warmed the counters. For a while, everything felt familiar. She stole blueberries from my bowl, I accused her of cheating, and she bumped my shoulder with hers. But when her phone buzzed, she froze. The message preview showed only a few words before she snatched it away: final confirmation required. She caught me looking and immediately poured too much batter into the pan, creating a shapeless pancake that resembled a map of a country neither of us could name. I won the breakfast round, but she barely protested. During darts, she missed the board twice, which Brynn had never done in her life. She blamed the sunlight, then the floor, then my aggressively distracting face. I let her win because watching her pretend to be fine was becoming painful. By the time we began the puzzle at the dining table, the score was tied, yet neither of us cared. I finally asked what the confirmation message meant. Her fingers stopped over a blue puzzle piece. She said it was nothing important, but her eyes filled for half a second before she looked down that I should have pressed her. Instead, I allowed my oldest fear to speak for me. I assumed she was hiding a new relationship, perhaps someone serious enough to take her away. Brynn had dated a surgeon named Everett Cole for almost a year, a polished man with expensive shoes, perfect manners, and the unsettling habit of answering questions for her. They had separated 3 months earlier, and she claimed the breakup had been mutual. I had never believed that. During their relationship, Brynn became quieter. She apologized more often. She stopped wearing bright colors because Everett said they made her look childish. She cancelled dinners with me and then insisted she had simply forgotten. When the relationship ended, she said only that some people could make you doubt your own memory. I wanted to ask whether Everett had contacted her again, but jealousy embarrassed me into silence. I had loved Brynn for years without admitting it, even to myself. Loving her felt dangerous because she was the one person I could not afford to lose. So I had built a safe little cage around my feelings and called it friendship. The puzzle remained half-finished when Brynn announced that the next event would be basketball. Outside, the afternoon was clear and cool, with children riding bicycles along the sidewalk and neighbors trimming hedges. We had played thousands of games on that driveway. As teenagers, Brynn had been relentless, using speed and insults in equal measure. That afternoon, however, she moved like someone carrying invisible weight. I won the first basket, then the second. When she missed an easy shot, she stood beneath the hoop staring at the ball as it rolled into the grass. Her shoulders began to shake. I crossed the driveway, but she raised one hand, asking for a moment without speaking. Then a dark sedan slowed near my house. Brynn's entire body stiffened. The car continued down the street, yet she backed toward the garage as if she expected someone to step out. That was when my jealousy vanished and fear replaced it. I asked whether Everett had threatened her. She denied it, but her voice broke. I told her the bet was over and that she did not owe me anything. She looked at me with such raw sadness that I knew the contest had never really been about winning. Inside the workshop, surrounded by half-restored cabinets and the clean scent of cedar, Brynn finally told me the truth. Everett had not accepted the breakup. At first, he sent flowers and apologies. Then came dozens of calls, messages from unfamiliar numbers, and appearances outside her workplace. He convinced mutual friends that she was unstable and persuaded her landlord that she was exaggerating. A week earlier, she had found a photograph of herself taped to her apartment door, taken from across the street. She had reported everything, documented the messages, and arranged to relocate through a temporary housing program connected to her employer. The confirmation on her phone was for a position in another state. She was scheduled to leave the following morning and had planned to tell me only after she was safely gone. She believed Everett might watch the people closest to her, and she was terrified that involving me would put me in danger. The overnight bag contained everything she intended to take. Her confession struck me harder than anger could have. She had been drowning within arm's reach, and I had mistaken her silence for distance. I asked why she had created the bet. Brynn wiped her face and admitted she wanted one final normal day before leaving. She had imagined that if I won, I might ask her to stay, and for a few seconds she could pretend staying was possible. Her words exposed the selfishness inside my grief. I wanted to demand why she had not trusted me, but trust is not simple when someone has spent months being manipulated and disbelieved. So instead of making her defend her fear, I told her I was sorry she had carried it alone. She looked stunned, as though she had prepared herself for blame. I promised that leaving for safety was not abandonment. It was survival. Then she asked what I would have chosen if I had won the bet. For years, I had imagined dramatic confessions, perfect moments, and fearless declarations. But standing in the warm afternoon light of my workshop, I understood that love was not supposed to trap someone into fulfilling a promise. It was supposed to give them room to breathe. I told Brynn that my request would have been simple. I wanted her to stop pretending with me. I wanted the truth, even when it was ugly, frightening, or inconvenient. I wanted her to know that nothing she revealed would make me see her as weak. Then, because life had already taken too much from both of us through silence, I admitted that I loved her. I explained that I was not asking her to stay, return the feeling, or make any decision. I only refused to let her leave believing she was unloved. Brynn covered her mouth with both hands. For one terrible second, I thought I had ruined everything. Then she crossed the small space between us and pressed her forehead against my chest. She confessed that she had loved me too, but fear had distorted everything. Everett had repeatedly told her that no one else would tolerate her grief, her anxiety, or her stubbornness. He had convinced her that I remained her friend only because I felt sorry for her. By the time she escaped the relationship, she could no longer trust affection without suspecting a hidden cost. She said the bet had been foolish, but part of her had hoped I would ask for something that proved I still saw the old Brynn brave girl who challenged the world instead of shrinking from it. I told her bravery was not the absence of fear. Sometimes bravery was packing one bag, asking for help, and leaving before the danger grew worse. That we spent the rest of the afternoon making practical decisions. We contacted the advocate handling her relocation, updated the authorities with the new photograph evidence, changed her phone settings, and arranged secure transportation. I called my older sister, Marin, who worked in legal administration and knew how to help preserve records without interfering. Brynn expected me to insist on accompanying her, but I understood that her safety plan had been carefully designed. Instead, I promised to follow every instruction. I would not post about her, confront Everett, or reveal where she was going. Protecting her required discipline, not heroics. That realization changed something in me. I had always believed love meant preventing people from leaving, but sometimes love meant helping them leave safely and trusting that distance did not erase connection. Before the afternoon ended, we returned to the driveway to finish the basketball game. Brynn said unfinished competitions brought bad luck. She played differently now, not carefree, but present. Her fear had not disappeared, yet it no longer controlled every movement. She tied the score with a shot from the edge of the driveway, then challenged me to one final basket. I could have let her win, but she would have known. So I played honestly. We chased the ball beneath the bright sky until both of us were breathless. At last, Brynn stole it, spun past me, and made the winning shot. She raised both arms in triumph, laughing through tears. According to our bet, I owed her anything she wanted. Her request was not romantic or dramatic. She asked me to promise that I would not freeze my life while waiting for her. She wanted me to keep restoring furniture, visit my sister, take the coastal trip I had postponed for 3 years, and stop assuming that every goodbye was permanent. In return, she promised to keep healing rather than merely hiding. We stood in the driveway with the basketball between us and made those promises under the afternoon sun. Before leaving for the secure hotel arranged by her advocate, she placed the old green sweater around my shoulders and said she would want it back someday. It was the closest thing we had to a guarantee. The months that followed were not simple. Safety does not instantly repair the damage caused by fear. Brynn attended counseling, started her new position, and rebuilt routines in a city where no one knew Everett's version of her story. I learned not to demand constant reassurance. Some days she called. Other days she needed silence. I restored an antique dining table that had been split down the center, carefully joining the damaged wood without disguising the seam. When I sent her a photograph, she said it looked stronger because the repair was visible. Slowly, we became honest in ways we had never been before. We spoke about grief, jealousy, shame, and the ways love can become confused with rescue. Everett was eventually held accountable after violating legal restrictions, but Brynn's healing did not depend on his punishment. Her victory was reclaiming her own voice. 6 months later, on a clear spring afternoon, Brynn returned to Connecticut. I saw her walking up my driveway wearing a bright yellow coat, the kind of color she had once been told made her look childish. She looked different, not because all her fear had vanished, but because she no longer apologized for taking up space. I stepped outside holding the green sweater, and she smiled. There was no dramatic music, no crowd, and no perfect speech. She simply asked whether I had kept my promise. I told her about the coastal trip, the new furniture commission, and the counseling sessions. I had begun to understand my fear of abandonment. Then I asked whether she had kept hers. She said she was still learning, but but she had stopped hiding. Brynn did not move back immediately, and we did not rush into a relationship simply because we had confessed our love. We began carefully, with afternoon walks, honest conversations, and boundaries that honored everything she had survived. Our friendship did not disappear when romance entered it, it deepened because neither of us was pretending anymore. The bet that had started as a desperate attempt to create one final memory became the moment we both learned that love should never demand anything. Real love asks for truth, respects freedom, and stays gentle when healing takes longer than expected. Before this story ends, please leave a meaningful comment about the person who taught you that asking for help is not weakness, or share what forgiveness and second chances mean to you. Your words may remind someone in our community that they are not alone. If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. 1 year after that frightening Saturday, Brynn and I stood in my workshop beside the restored dining table. Sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the repaired seam down its center. She ran her fingers across it and said it was beautiful because it had been broken without becoming worthless. I understood then that she was speaking about both of us. I reached for her hand, not to keep her from leaving, but to walk beside her wherever she freely chose to go. She squeezed my fingers and smiled with the fearless warmth of the girl who had once crossed a playground to rescue a lonely boy. Some people enter your life and promise never to leave. Brynn taught me something more honest. The right person may sometimes need to go, but love built on truth can find its way home.